A spaceship of the ancient gods and a city guarded by robots. What else could be under the pyramids of Egypt? And what are the Egyptian authorities so carefully concealing? Well, we shouldn't be surprised by ancient robots. I mean, the ancient Greeks had robots, and there's a legend that a huge robot was protecting the island of Crete, going around the island a few times a day to protect it from its enemies. Since 2014, Egyptian authorities have banned excavations under the pyramids at Giza and the Sphinx. The fact that is that previously unknown underground passages and rooms were discovered there. After this discovery, admission to this place was strictly prohibited and was issued only to 3 foreign researchers. Coincidence or not, but all 3 entered the Institute of Egyptology in Cairo. That is, they fully supported the academic version of the origin of this complex. However, there are various experts who report that they were in the dungeons under the said buildings. For example, Italian journalist and amateur archaeologist Antonio Laprieno hypothesized that the sands consumed several floors of modern-day dungeons in Egypt. In fact, the Sphinx and the pyramids are only the pinnacle of creation, and under them is the whole city. There is the ancient parable of the Garamantes, the people who presumably lived in Egypt before the Egyptians, about a young man who ended up in a lost city. And this story takes us back to the 14th millennium BC. So the guy found himself in a room that was illuminated by electrical snakes. Sunlight did not penetrate inside, but tens and hundreds of mysterious lamps emitted it. Inside each of them was a sun snake. Perhaps it was they who were depicted on bas reliefs in ancient Egypt. In addition, there were real forests on the lower floors of the structures. Someone or something has created an underground oasis. Under the ground, there was a lake and a river flowing into it. There was not a soul there, as if everyone had left this place quite recently. The young man heard a sharp grinding and saw something bright from behind. In fear, he ran into the street and told everyone that under the pyramids there is a real paradise. Only a terrible monster, bright as a dozen suns, guarded this area. And from this story, we can conclude that the pyramids of the Sphinx were not erected by people, at least not by our civilization. It just so happened that first the inhabitants of the desert came to this territory, and then the Egyptians appropriated these cultural objects. The famous researcher Eric von Daniken believes that in the past there was a paleo contact between humans and aliens, probably on our planet. Indeed, tens of thousands of years ago, there was a developed civilization. Whether humans were its representatives or not is difficult to answer, but according to the interpretation of the Swiss specialist, the pyramids of the Sphinx were erected by aliens, and that bright monster is a robot that gleamed light from mysterious lamps. If this is true, and there's a whole city under the pyramids, then where did the inhabitants go? Why are robots guarding it, and were they discovered by specialists who had been excavating the lower floors for more than 7 years? To be honest, there is a certain skepticism about the opinions of various psychics, but Edgar Cayce predicted a lot of different events, so he can be trusted. He reported that under the Sphinx and the pyramids, there is a network of dungeons among which is hidden a library of ancient mankind written on sheets of gold. He called it the legacy of the Atlanteans and the gods in the north, that is, the Hyperboreans. Some believe they were talking about Atlantis and Hyperborea. So it may well turn out that under tens of meters of sand, there are secret knowledge and great technology of civilization sunk into oblivion. French Egyptologist Jacques Christian said that in 1971 he and his colleagues turned to a medium for help. He told about 26 iron guards of the dungeons of Egypt. When asked further, he exclaimed that he saw real robots made of golden iron. They are located under the Sphinx at a depth of 230 meters, the psychic said, on the 28th ground floor, and guard the interstellar crystal ship. In other words, isn't that something? A ship under the Sphinx. And now I will direct you to the playlist I have of the Emerald Tablets written by Thoth the Atlantean, Hermes Trismegistus. And it's amazing what you'll find in there. Hermes Trismegistus, that is Thoth the Atlantean, at one point said that they had interstellar travel and that he should be credited with building the Giza complex of pyramids and the Sphinx, and that under the one of the Sphinx in Egypt, he has his spaceship. His spacecraft is under one of the Sphinx in Egypt. Now, so that's very, it's not a coincidence that it says so here too. They are located under the Sphinx at a depth of 230 meters on the 28th ground floor and guard the interstellar crystal ship. On it, in the 70th millennium BC, the ancestors of the first caste of gods arrived on Earth, which they erected such beautiful cultural pinnacles, and there, according to the medium, the bodies of the aliens lie in the sarcophagi. Naturally, most Egyptologists and in general scientists are skeptics and materialists, so no one believes the words of the medium. But who knows, what if there really are robots and a spaceship of a lost civilization on our planet? Is this not so carefully concealed by the Egyptian authorities? Maybe that's why they don't allow more digging, more archaeological excavations there. This is by Soul Ask. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.